From the respect he showed to Sheila Vand on her first major film role on Argo, to bringing the best out of his childhood friend Matt Damon. Here's what actors said it was like working with Ben Affleck. The guys had a pretty great run so far, with Argo being a career highlight. Sheila Vand got her big break on the film, and she certainly thinks of Ben as the nicest director in Hollywood. Of course, Ben had already had a great career on screen, but it's fair to say that directing is where his true skills lie. The fact that the film won the Oscar for Best Picture confirms that Ben's got what it takes to make great movies. And part of his appeal as a director is the environment he creates on set. Sheila's been pretty vocal about how Ben helped her out when she was still just a rookie. I can only imagine how nervous she must have been while working with one of the biggest names in the business. That too, as one of the only Iranian actors in a mostly white cast. But luckily for Vand, she had Affleck to back her up. Unlike certain directors who are notorious for being demanding and short-tempered, Affleck was warm, welcoming, and kind, even though Sheila's role was kind of small. What surprises me is his lack of arrogance. By this point, the guy had already directed critically acclaimed films like Gone Baby Gone and The Town, yet he still found the time to give a small-time actress like Sheila just what she needed to bring her character to life. In fact, he went so far as to expand her role and start the film with her voiceover because he saw something in her. That's definitely not something you see big directors doing every day, and Sheila was definitely taken aback. As a new actress in an industry full of egomaniacs, she'd never gotten the sort of respect that Ben gave her. It just goes to show that you don't have to be a tyrant to make good movies. Someone tell James Cameron that the next time he pulls out his dreaded nail gun. Now, you might think that Sheila was just starstruck and grateful for the career boost, but it's not just newbies that love working with Ben. John Goodman's a veteran, and even he was impressed by Affleck's work ethic on Argo. When asked about his time on set, Goodman was quick to mention Ben's attention to detail. According to John, there wasn't a single day on set where Affleck was unprepared. Instead, it kind of seemed like he'd already mapped out the day's scenes in his head. That said, he wasn't too controlling either. Rather, he'd come in with a game plan but still gave his performers some room to experiment. Goodman's about as experienced as an actor can get. The guys worked with the Coen brothers, so if anyone knows what good direction looks like, it's him. However, what's it like working with him on the other end? Sure, the guy knows his way around a director's chair, but what about when someone else is giving the orders? Well, Ben's got a solid reputation there as well. David Fincher is just one of the many directors who loved working with him. Yet again, we have a widely respected Hollywood figure who only had good things to say about Ben Affleck. In this case, Fincher specifically had Ben in mind for the lead role, mostly because the actor was facing a ton of scrutiny at that time, and David felt like that would play well in his film. Something tells me that Ben's willingness to play the fool was key to his performance. You see, his character Nick starts off looking like he's on top of the world. Not only is he a good-looking guy who has everything going for him, but he also has a hot wife that everyone envies him for. Of course, it's all just a facade, and over the course of the film, Nick gets taken down peg after peg. Ben was a Hollywood legend when he signed on for the film, but he didn't hesitate to commit to a role that kind of dismantled his own charming image. Initially, Fincher was worried that Ben would have problems with how low his character would stoop. He'd often found actors who were eager at first, but started to complain as soon as the role no longer fitted their public image. Ben clearly had no such qualms, and after just a few meetings, David knew that he'd found a guy with an intuitive understanding of the role. Affleck threw his heart and soul into the performance, blowing his director's mind in the process, and proving that he still knew how to take orders despite being a respected director in his own right. What's more, his work on this film gave some new performers the chance to see what it's like to act alongside him, like his co-star Emily Ratajkowski, for example. Just like Sheila Vand, Emily barely had any acting credits to her name when she got hired for Gone Girl. I'd imagine she was about as nervous as Vand was. And that's not where the similarities end. You see, Ratajkowski's performance owes a lot to Affleck's mentorship. In her own words, it was monkey see, monkey do. Basically, she learned a lot from watching Affleck's work, especially from those fake phone calls he made. According to Emily, Ben had an uncanny knack for coming up with realistic conversations on the spot. That level of ad-libbing is impressive, to say the least. Okay, so far we've talked about his early career, but is he still so respectable after his forays into the DCEU? Well, Jesse Eisenberg was certainly inspired by his more experienced co-star. Say what you will about his performance as Lex Luthor, but the guy's clearly a great actor, and he has plenty of other roles that prove that. Eisenberg had to work very closely with Ben on Batman vs. Superman, which allowed him to get a closer look at Affleck's famous improvisational skills. A lot of the lines in the film were the result of Jesse, Ben, and Henry Cavill playing off of each other. You just can't do that if you don't have great chemistry from the get-go. Now, while Jesse warmed up to Ben rather quickly, it wasn't quite so easy for Henry. Superman himself was intimidated by Affleck when he first met him on set, although that had less to do with acting and more to do with Ben's absolutely massive physique. Cavill's got a great bod on him too, but even he felt a little small when Affleck walked in. This first meeting actually inspired Henry to work harder at the gym. So I guess we have Ben to thank for how amazing Superman looked in Justice League. It's a shame that we won't get to see the pair back on screen together anytime soon. But that hasn't stopped Ben from keeping busy. His latest film, Air, was just released a few months ago. And one of his longtime collaborators, Chris Messina, had a lot to say about Ben's directing. He's already worked with Affleck before on Argo and Live by Night, but he had a way bigger role this time around. The film's about Nike signing a historic deal with none other than Michael Jordan, portraying the arrival of the now iconic Air Jordans to the scene. Messina plays Jordan's agent David Falk, and if what he's been saying is true, working under Ben Affleck sounds like a dream. Apparently, Chris felt like he had the freedom to just let go and do his thing, because Ben's just a dependable director all around. And he makes sure that the performer can focus on what they do best. To top it all off, he's also great at letting everyone have fun on set. And if you've seen the film, you'd have noticed the good vibes shining through. Something tells me that had a lot to do with Ben getting the chance to reunite with his oldest friend, Matt Damon. Yep, Ben and Matt have been best friends ever since they were kids. They both grew up in the town of Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they've also worked together a bunch of times over the years. The first time they collaborated was on Good Will Hunting, which they not only co-starred in, but also wrote the screenplay together as well. Now, Air represents the first time that Ben's ever directed his best friend, and suffice it to say that the pair loved working together. And they've jokingly commented on how this technically isn't even the first time, because Ben's directed Matt in a bunch of school plays during their childhood. That just goes to show how far back these two go. Although I'd expect that having your best friend order you around on an actual film set would be different. The thing is, Matt and Ben have been writing screenplays together for ages now, so this just seemed like the natural next step. Matt plays the protagonist of the film, Sonny Vaccaro, aka the guy who saw something in Michael Jordan when he was still just a rookie, and he used that to create a billion-dollar brand of sneakers. The love and trust between Affleck and Damon definitely shine through, and both stars confirmed that it made the filmmaking process smoother than they expected. I guess that's just what happens when you get to work with someone you've known since grade school. So, from the natural chemistry he enjoyed with Matt Damon on his latest project to the respect he showed to Sheila Vann during her first major film role, this is what actors say it's really like working with Ben Affleck.